Guys, today we are continuing our art talks. As you know, I already interviewed some amazing artists during self-isolation. And today we are continuing our conversations because the goal is to stay in touch with art professionals from all over the world to know what's going on in the industry and how we can cope and we can share the experience in this new fast changing world. And today we will have a very special guest. Should I tell you who it is? It is one of my favorite artists and the sculptor, Lorenzo Quinn. He's a great Italian sculptor who is famous for his monumental public art and also some smaller pieces which transmit his passion for eternal values and authentic emotions. His sculptures with human hands have become signature ones, and his other iconic works are related to our beautiful planet. Okay, so let's try now, and we'll connect to Lorenzo. Let's see if he's here. Da-da-da-da. Lorenzo. Okay. We're trying to connect to Lorenzo Quinn. Let's see. Yeah. I think it's gonna work. Iraq. Hello, Iraq. Hello.
Hurrah, hurrah, hurrah.
Yes, connected. We are connected.
We are connected.
Yeah, and I can see some fabulous sculpture of yours behind you. It's like there's two hands just holding your head. Yeah. Amazing. So
Yeah, this is
finally I get a chance to talk to you. We've been trying for a long time.
Yes, how are you? How is everything?
I'm good. I'm in London. As I understand, you were in Spain.
Yes, I live in Spain, so I've been living out COVID-19 here in Spain with my family. But actually, I've been lucky. We're all okay. All our family members are okay, and friends are okay. But you know, it's a strange moment. It's a very difficult moment. At the same time, it's a unifying moment because all over the world, everybody's going through the same thing. Unfortunately, some people have had it a lot worse than us, and you know, my heart goes out to them and their families. Creatively, it's been very interesting. I've actually created a lot of work.
I saw you made some new pieces. Love you holding each other up. Love yourself. It's all
Yes.
about love. I feel like that's what we need in this difficult moment.
Well, I think art needs to spread a message, you know, a unifying message of love. The hands behind me, by the way, have been inspired by the unfortunate events that took place in the U.S. with George Floyd's death.
So is that your new artwork?
It's I have repainted one of the pair of hands that I did for building bridges. Building bridges were 6 pair of hands.
I think those one I saw those
You
one.
saw them in, yeah, you saw them in Venice.
Yeah, so big.
Yeah, so these are the smaller ones that were for the interior. In fact, I was going to set them up in my studio. Let me show you. I was
Yes.
going to,
Wait. Oh my God, they're actually not so small. They're big. They're very
yeah,
big.
I'm going to set them up in my studio, but because of COVID-19. By the way, you want me to walk you around my studio a
Oh,
little?
fabulous. Yes.
Okay, so this is like the area, the exhibition area, which right now is, of course, no visitors can come yet. So we're taking advantage and reassembling the whole exhibition. That's my actions speak louder than words. Love. This
Yes.
is the force of
Very,
nature.
very
Uh, Here is I will catch you if you fall. That is finding love. Here you have small reproductions of the hands, the first hands I did in Venice, called
nice.
called support.
Mm-hmm.
So I now have to make this wall look like Hotel Casagredo. So this is the exhibition space. My office is up there in that window. That's the office, and then there are other offices there. This is the actual sculpting area. This is the
Wow.
sculpting area.
Oh my God, that's so impressive.
So now I have a big force of nature. She's 9 meters tall. We're
God.
working. We're working on her.
So this is clay, or tell
Yeah,
us
well,
like,
it's a combination of material. So the details, I do it with plastilina. I do this is the smaller one. This is the original version.
yeah,
So it's a reproduction of this one.
idea now.
There it is. So because it's so big, I have to combine materials. So I use styrofoam for the smoother parts that don't have details. And for the detail parts, I make the plastilina. That's the give out there, the one
Yeah, but the
the
tree.
with the tree. Yes, the olive tree, giving life. This was in Miami. I brought it back here. Now I'm going to change it. I'm going to put a brush in it, and I'm going to write on that wall. I'm going to write what is art. So
So where in Spain is this? I think yeah, you're connected a little.
it's actually a place called Gavà, just outside Barcelona.
That's pretty spectacular. So how does it start? So first the idea, of course. Then you make a sketch, right?
Well, yes. First, it's the idea. It's and the idea is really everything. So it's about what They
Yeah,
want to talk about
connection is a little bit.
the environment. So depending on what I want to talk about, I start thinking about what I want to say about that subject matter. And so I'll usually write down a few words. I'll write down a few words. And based on the words, then, sorry, let me just put this down. So based on the words, I will then, here, maybe you see me better here. Okay. Based on the
Mhm.
words, I will
Yeah.
then like draw, get some inspiration from the adjectives that I wrote down. And then I'll make a little drawing. And
Hmm.
after the drawing, then I'll make I usually make a little maquette of the sculpture to see if it works. And then depending on what I've decided and what I created, if it's very, very big, I work on the small one, then we scan it, and then we make it big with we print it big, and then as you saw, I make all the details. And if it's a small piece like this one, then I usually sculpt directly. This is the one I was telling you about before,
I think holding each other up. Yes.
holding each other up. And as you see,
One of
this
unique.
piece. Wait, let me put it here. Let me show you.
So is it also going to be a big one, a bigger version?
They fall. If they're not attached to each other, they fall. But as in any relationship, you hold each other up, basically.
Yeah, and the final version will be in bronze, correct?
The final version will be bronze, or will be aluminum, or will be stainless steel. I usually do various versions of a same piece.
So you do that also in Spain, you produce?
Yeah, I do that in Spain. My gallery, Halcyon Gallery, they're in London.
Yep.
So I go to London all the time. They're on New Bond Street and actually in Harrods as well. They also have a very big space in China, in Shanghai, in Pudong. So we kind of that way cover an international market. So yeah, the creative part is done here, and I guess the sales and viewing is done in London.
Yeah. So most of lots of your works are public art located in important parks and cultural centers. And during quarantine, people and us public didn't have an opportunity to enjoy it. And focus of the society has shifted from interpersonal relations to economics and healthcare. So in your opinion, how the social trends will, the perception of art will change afterwards?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of people have actually, in moments of crisis, a lot of people actually turn to art. Interestingly enough, from an economic standpoint, during the last recession, the art market actually went up. Because aside from they didn't know where to put their money, the other thing is that art at least gives you comfort.
Yep.
And it's something that makes you feel good when you have it. And it also has a true market value, depending on what you get. The interesting thing is, because people had to stay at home, I saw a lot more creativity during this time.
Correct.
Because we live in a very fast-paced world, and we're always running around like crazy. I travel. Last year I traveled, I think 230 days, 240 days. So yeah, my creative time was on planes, But now I've been able to be at home for the past basically 3 months.
So did you find yourself creating more during this time when you're not traveling? Do you have more time?
Yeah, I think any moment that is any moment that carries a very strong energy with it, and this one did, whether it was positive or negative. This is a very important moment in history. And of course, you have to feel it. You feel this sensation, you feel this vibration. So I have been able to, yes, I have been able to exteriorize it through my art. And I've been lucky. Many people, sometimes, people get overwhelmed by emotions and they can't actually create because there's just so much going on in their mind. I have learned to channel my emotions into my art. So I've been quite lucky.
So it means it's inspired you even
Yeah, it
better.
inspired me. It has inspired me. It has inspired
But
me. One of the worst parts about being an artist, at least for me, is because my art always has to carry a meaning.
yep.
And sometimes I don't know what I want to talk about. Sometimes I'm at a loss for thoughts and for messages. Although there's so many out there that you can talk about, of course, because you could talk about the environment, you
Yeah.
could talk about love in many different ways. You could talk about so many beautiful things. and meaningful things. But deciding which one you want, which subject matter you want to choose, sometimes is quite challenging. And even though you've decided it, now you have to materialize it. So how am I going to show this message through my art? So sometimes the inspiration leaves you, and you don't know when it's going to come back. It's like a tidal wave, you know, when you're out and the tide goes out, and you're like, is it ever going to come back? And then there's a rush of creativity. You know, that tidal wave of rush comes back, and it's like pushing you to create and to do things. So, yeah, I think that in this moment, I was able to turn the negativity into something positive.
Amazing. But tell me, how did your creative process change during this time? I noticed on Instagram you posted you start using virtual models instead
Yeah,
of live, instead of a
that was
traditional.
that was very interesting. It at first it sounded a little, it was a little strange because I always like to work with models live, of course, and I always like to do it in an environment that's respectful and safe for the model herself. So I'm doing it usually. I have a lot of people in the office, and I have a lot of people going around the studio. So it's usually when there's a lot of people here. Just so, and this was a little weird because it was like it looked like a voyeurism call. You know, it's like, hey, you know, are you willing to to undress for the camera? You know, that was weird. But we, you know, we were working together for a while, so there was a good relationship and confidence in that, and so it was okay. But at
So it
first it was
worked
a
out.
little strange. But
Worked
you
out.
know, listen, I'm also like to, if I can, to help out, and I know that in a moment like this, especially if you're a model, you're not getting modeling jobs because you can't go to your jobs. So if I can help by asking you to model virtually, at least you know, you can also earn something on the side. It's good.
But are you going to continue this virtual modeling in the future once the
Well,
lockdown?
I mean, that I didn't think about.
I think you should make
But
some
now I know that there's a
model
possibility.
wearing the mask.
Yes.
Would be cool.
Now at least I know there is a possibility to do that, which is something I didn't know before. I didn't think about before. But now I know that there is a possibility that I can work virtually with a model. Obviously, it's not the same. You know, the lighting
Yeah.
is not the same, and but it can be done. Also, it's not the same for a very simple reason. I take measurements. I have calipers. And so if I'm working like on
Very
a scale sculpture, like on a 1:2 or a 1:3, I need to take measurements with the calipers. And of course, if you're live, you can't do that. So I think, sorry, if you're on video, you can't do that. So I think that the video will help to advance to a certain point, but eventually you need to be in person.
Yeah, interesting. But I think with the future, with when technologies will develop even more, I think you will photograph an image and then you can touch it or you can make a
Well,
video.
eventually, yeah, eventually I think that you'll be able to scan a person even though the person is not there with you. She can be scanned somewhere remotely, or he can be scanned somewhere remotely, and then of course you work on the figure. Listen, I believe in technology. Leonardo da Vinci
Yeah.
was one of the first great believers of technology. I mean, he was the one that actually went out and invented things that didn't exist yet to help himself create what he wanted to create. I can just imagine Leonardo alive today. He'd go crazy with all the things he could use and everything. We don't have to forget, though, that we can't lose the uh, artistic touch. The artist touch is still very, very, very important.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, maybe one day robots will be
Yep.
able to do a job.
Right.
Maybe.
They're making paintings and yeah, it's going there.
Also, you know, I think that also the fact that we're human and that we're not perfect, and that we don't make the perfect artwork, is something that's very human about us, and I think actually very pleasing to the art, to the eye. When you're talking about proportions and when you're talking about aesthetics, nobody is exactly symmetrical. In fact, it's very funny. If you take a photograph of half of your face
True.
and and double it up, you won't recognize yourself. You're like, who is that?
Yeah.
It's interesting. So in art, it's the same. So we're as humans, we're accustomed to a certain aesthetic, and I think that eventually maybe you can teach robots to do that, but I don't know. I hope not.
The same. So hopefully not. So we can see a lot of human hands you use in your sculptures. So what's the concept behind this human body? Why
Well,
hands?
yeah, I use hands and I use, of course, figures, but essentially I'm a figurative artist. But one of the reasons I use so many hands is because my message is, well, at least I want it to be a universal message, and everybody understands what those hands back there mean.
Yeah.
I don't have to explain it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of these other hands that I have around here, I don't have to tell you what they mean. You kind of understand just by the gesture, you understand what they mean. So I think that the ability to speak through hands using a universal language, that is what has always been very appealing to me. But of course, I also use full figures. And I
Mm-hmm.
use full figures because um, I am a figurative artist, and there are some things that need to go beyond the the immediate simple message. Maybe something that needs to be a little bit deeper, and so then I'll use a figure. Also, one of the reasons why I use hands is also because I exhibit in so many countries around the world, and a lot of countries you can't show a naked body,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
uh, but they have no problem with hands.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a lot of my sculptures in the Middle East, and I respect all cultures, so I'm okay with that. It's fine. And then you can wear a hand on your wrist, so
Mm-hmm.
that's also why I do hands.
So did you start a jewelry line or?
Yeah, I have a jewelry line. So I have a lot of my jewels are a lot of my sculptures have been turned into jewels. Yeah.
That's very interesting.
This is the give and receive.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's the gold version, and this is the rubber version.
That's amazing. So where can we buy this bracelet?
LorenzoQuinnJewelry.com. Where else?
Well, always something you creative people.
Well, it's easier.
Right.
I want to get the message out to as many people as I can. The message of unity, the message of bring let's come together. Um, and not everybody can actually carry a sculpture around, right? And usually sculptures are either public art, and that's fine because then everybody can see it. But of course, most of my art is in private homes.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to spread the message as much as I can. So I think jewelry is a great way to do that because people can carry the message on them. This is the message of giving and receiving. It's an
Mm-hmm.
important message.
Mm-hmm. So tell me, what is your next big project, the public art project? Which city, if it is?
I'm very excited because I have two upcoming projects, one in the States and one in Europe, one in Holland. I can actually say where they go and what they are, because it's of course it's a secret. But
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you one is gonna be a very nice inauguration, public inauguration in October
Mm-hmm.
in the U.S. and the other one will be in November in Holland.
Mm-hmm. So I was always curious, what happens to these big monumental sculptures? after, for example, what happened in Venice Biennale to building bridges. So it doesn't stay there forever. What is the afterlife of all
Yeah,
this?
thank you. Thank you for that question. It's a good question. Okay, so for example, the first ones that I did in 2017, support, the ones that were in the water holding the building, those have been back in Spain.
Hmm?
And the city of Venice, the people have actually had asked to keep them there.
Yeah, that would be so
Yeah,
amazing.
but the local authorities, not the mayor's office, the mayor also wanted them there. But the local art council, because it was a temporary exhibition, they said if it's temporary, it can't be permanent. And so they had them removed.
Mm-hmm.
People were very upset about that because,
I
yeah,
think it is
it lends itself,
sad.
and it's okay. You can bring, we're in 2020 now, and Venice is a very beautiful city, has to be protected, and there's space for modern art. And the Tour Eiffel, as you know, was also temporary, but turned out to be a permanent icon of France. Um, so we're now waiting and hoping that we can bring them back to Venice. So we haven't done anything with them. We've been asked by so many people to bring them here, to bring them there, but we really think that they belong in Venice, so we want to bring them back to Venice. Building bridges,
What?
the building bridges, they're still in Venice,
Mm-hmm.
but we are now in talks with quite a few governments to move them
Mm-hmm.
to other countries.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't say where yet, but we're pretty advanced in talks to move them to other countries.
So usually they never stay in one place. They travel around the world.
If it's an installation, a temporary installation, usually yes, it doesn't. It's for the time that the installation was set for, a month, 2 months, 6 months, whatever, and then they usually move on. But these things are so massive and so difficult to move.
Mm-hmm.
So people have
What
asked.
weight? I wonder how heavy are
Well,
they? Like,
listen, I just tell you that the team to assemble it, we had altogether, we had almost 300 people. We had 18 tractor trailer trucks. We had 6 barges, floating barges. So it's a massive operation. So when people ask us, we'd like to have building bridges here, we'd like to have building bridges there, and then we tell them what it's going to cost to bring. They're like, okay, okay, maybe something smaller.
a smaller version.
Yeah.
So what is your largest scale public art object? Oh, and where?
Building bridges is the biggest sculpture that I made to date. These are the small ones, of course, the ones that are here. I think that they're one. I think they're 1/4 in scale, either 1/3 or 1/4 in scale of the big ones.
That you did
I think a 1/4, 1/4. Yeah,
this Black Lives Matter situation, which is
yeah.
happening in the world, that you're following up. Okay, I know that you're short of time. The last
Yeah.
question, like, which sculpture is your favorite one and why?
I get asked that question a lot. I never know how to answer. It's as if,
You,
Natalia, do you have children?
not yet.
Okay, when you'll have children, and you have 1, 2, or 3, or 4, people will say, it's like saying, which is your favorite child? So they're all my babies. Of course, some sculptures, especially the latest ones, the last ones, it's like that's the one that you're fond of, but then you have the sculpture that represented something for you in that moment. So I have quite a few. I guess Force of Nature is one of my favorite pieces. A Hand of
I
God,
think
Gravity, which is there. Um,
quite famous.
Gravity is my favorite. Force of Nature, and the Love series, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't have one. I don't have a specific one. I probably my favorite sculpture is the one that's still up here that I haven't made yet.
Something in your head. So we are looking forward for new creations. Can't wait to see your new public art. And
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for your time, for showing around. It was really
Thank you.
something. Thank you.
And hi to all, and hi to all your followers, and hope to see you guys soon.
Yeah, see you. Bye.
Thank you. Ciao. Bye bye.